So, guys, you might be wondering, how is somebody who used to not believe in horoscopes or astrology at all making a video about this? Well, it is because I completely got taken for a whirlwind on my first Saturn return. My life was turned upside down. I was chopped into pieces and somehow put back together. And you know what? I did grow from it. When I got put back together, I got put back together better. So, we're going to be talking about Saturn returns, what they are, both from a mystic and a skeptic perspective, and how you can make the most of your Saturn return. Also, I want to make the case that even if you do not believe in this at all, you think it's hosh posh, you think it is just absolutely stupid, I'm going to make the case that if you act as though you do believe, you're actually going to gain a massive amount of growth. So if you are into self improvement at all, it doesn't matter if you believe or not, watch this and we're going to talk about it. So, I was skeptical too. I used to think Saturn Return was like astrology girl drama. I was like kind of pick me girl. I was one of the boys, didn't believe in it at all. But then my life got turned upside down. My identity was cracked. It was super rough. But what shocked me is that it was the most accelerated growth of my life. And this happened in 2025 for me, so last year. And this weekend, I went through a very tough experience that I'm going to share later in the video. And then I was just like journaling later and saw that I'd written down that apparently my second Saturn return started this past weekend. So that was shocking to me. And of course, Saturn had already reared its ugly head. But this time, I'm not scared. I am ready. So, welcome to the channel. This channel is all about self improvement and productivity and growth, but in a very tangible, practical way. I think some of like the self improvement creators I really like, they are awesome, but I feel like sometimes it's very high level, very conceptual. So, my channel is all about kind of breaking it down into practical tips and steps, things that you can really easily institute into your life. I have a background in psychology research, and then I work in project management. So, marrying the growth mindset with practicality is what I really enjoy. So, let's move on and talk about what a Saturn return actually is. So, Saturn takes about 29.5 years to orbit the sun. So, around ages 27 to 30, I am in that age group, 58 to 60, and 88 to 90, it returns to the exact position it was when you were born. So, astrologically, Saturn represents structure, responsibility, discipline, karma, boundaries, maturity. But let's strip it of the mysticism for a second. Your late 20s are biologically and psychologically a consolidation period. So your identity solidifies, consequences kind of catch up with you, long term patterns become obvious. Your frontal lobe is like fully online, finally. Us girls, it was earlier than the guys, but still, I feel like all of us have our frontal lobes developed by this point. So you kind of ask yourself, who am I really? And that becomes an unavoidable quest. So even without astrology, I think we can all agree that it is a developmental checkpoint. So Saturn return is a mythic container for growing up. If you believe in that, but even if you do not believe in that, I think we can all get on the same page that it is a time of growth and solidification. So it's important to realize that not all Saturn returns are the same, and I really learned this the hard way, and I'm going to explain why. So everyone's Saturn return is different. It depends on the sign Saturn was in when you were born, the house it sits in, and the aspects it makes to other planets. So for example, I am an Aquarius, but my Saturn is in Aries. So my Saturn returns happen in Aries energy. For those of you who do not know, Aries is confrontational, assertive, impulsive, conflict oriented. Do you notice how I skipped over this word because I literally don't know how to say it? Initiatory. I'm not even going to try. And the thing is that I am like the least confrontational person ever. I'm like, I would rather literally have some of my fingers chopped off than be in a confrontation with someone. Like I have a visceral response to it. And it's really something that I need to work on because it does hinder me in life. I have a very visceral response to confrontation. And I'm like, when I'm in confrontation, I like low key should like honestly need a beta blocker. Like it's just like, I'm really not good in confrontation. So the fact that my Saturn return is in Aries really explains why my Saturn returns are always so rough. So yeah, Saturn in Aries is known for being especially intense because Saturn is all about restraint, discipline, and structure. Aries is fire, action, instinct, and war. So there's friction, it's growth through confrontation, which, as I just mentioned, I am not good at, and it's learning self leadership through pressure. So when my Saturn return hits, it is not subtle, it's loud, it's conflict heavy, and it forces me to step up to the plate, stand up for myself, and yeah, sort of like take it by the head. I don't know if that's a saying. I'm not sure. I think you get what I mean. So your Saturn return targets your specific weak structures. So it's not random chaos, it is personalized restructuring. So I do think that I know that have mentioned that, Saturn return, if you approach it with belief, I do think even if you're a skeptic, you can benefit from, and I'm going to explain that later. But I do also think I want to make a case for maybe Saturn returns 100% fully true. Maybe horoscopes are fully true, and I'm going to try to convince a skeptic that maybe you should believe a little bit. So let's talk about the belief. Can we scientifically prove that Saturn returns cause anything? No. But can we prove with full certainty that celestial cycles have zero influence on us? Also, no. The Earth's oceans literally bulge towards the moon because of gravitational pull, high tide. And I really think this fact is really cool. And keep in mind that we are 60 to 70% water. Is it unreasonable to stay open to the possibility that celestial cycles might interact with biological systems in ways we don't fully understand yet? So we used to think that the Earth was flat, germs didn't exist, that the mind and body were not connected. So science evolves and certainty is often temporary. You don't have to blindly believe in astrology, but intellectual humility is powerful. Closed certainty can be just as irrational as blind belief. The middle path is curiosity. So why not just approach this with curiosity and understand that we can't know for sure, but we also can't know that it's not true? So, this is why I think acting as if you believe will 10x your growth, even if you do not believe at all. Even if you don't, I'm going to fix this, even if you do not believe at all. So, here's the psychological gold, in my opinion. If you treat a hard season as a cosmic punishment, you will shrink. If you treat it as random chaos, you will spiral. But if you treat it as an initiation of growth, you will rise. When I framed my first Saturn return as this is restructuring me, I behaved differently. I took responsibility faster, I cut weak dynamics sooner, and I leaned into discomfort instead of resisting it. And actually, I've written this inaccurately. I didn't know about Saturn returns when my first one hit. It was when I looked back at the dates that I was like, oh my God, that was like the biggest stage of growth and hardship that I had experienced. And it makes so much sense. But then what happened to me this past weekend, that was when I went into a Saturn return for the first time, knowing what a Saturn return was. For my first one, I had never heard of the concept. So this is like super off brand for me, but I could not help make the reference to this amazing show, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. I was feeling unhinged today. So Declassified Saturn Return Survival Guide. So one is take radical ownership. Saturn rewards maturity. So drop the blame. Secondly, is expect conflict, especially Aries Saturn return. Shout out. So, conflict doesn't mean failure. So, you kind of just need to go in knowing that you're gonna, like, when you're like swimming in the ocean and you accidentally get like stuck in a wave and you're like barrel ruled, you kind of just have to like stop resisting. So, that leads to my next one. Do not resist. So, there's gonna be conflict and don't resist the conflict. Four is upgrade your identity. Stop acting like your 23-year-old self. It doesn't matter if you are in the 27 to 30 Saturn return or the 58 to 60, however old you are, you have to upgrade your identity. Number 5 is play the long game. Saturn is slow. There's going to be delayed gratification, legacy building. It's a foundational era. It's going to be rough for a little bit, but you are going to come out of it so much stronger. I promise. So my second Saturn return happened this past weekend. Basically, as I mentioned, I am extremely conflict averse. I'm a people pleaser. I'm afraid of conflict. I'm also just naturally not very confrontational and not very irritable. But basically, something I'm going to keep details vague, but there was some sort of big family task that we had to pursue, and two people were treating everybody else terribly. We're being mean, we're being domineering, and I decided to stand up for myself and the others and say something for once. This this basically stimulated a like 24-hour period of a lot of conflict. And first, I was kind of like regretful that I had said something. But then when I saw that my Saturn return started this weekend, the exact time that this whole fiasco started, I realized that I think this Saturn return is all about me learning that it is okay to stand up for yourself. So the power dynamics were tested, boundaries were challenged. But the difference between my first Saturn return and my second is that this one, I see the pattern and I'm not going to resist it. And I'm going to realize that this is all about me leveling up. So, in conclusion, you do not have to worship Saturn. You don't have to read your horoscope daily. But if life is offering you a restructuring cycle, why not treat it like initiation? Why not act like the season is shaping you into someone stronger? Whether Saturn is symbolic or literal, it honestly doesn't matter. What matters is, are you willing to grow? So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Good luck with your Saturn returns, and please pray that I survive mine.